On Good Friday, Christians everywhere in the world commemorate the saving event of Jesus' death and resurrection. The liturgy draws us to the cross. We hear in the solemn words of John's story of the Passion of Christ how blood and water flowed from his side. There, on Calvary, our salvation was won. As we come forward to embrace the cross, we renew our connection to Christ. The liturgy and customs of Good Friday, celebrated around the world, offer Christians a way to commemorate Jesus' great gift of sacrificial love on the cross. No matter where they observe this holy day across the globe, Christians naturally turn their thoughts to the Church of Jerusalem, to the places where Jesus walked, where he lived and died and rose. Each year, thousands come as pilgrims to walk with Jesus on the way of the cross. Not only for the pilgrim, but for all those across the globe who pray at this time, the Holy Land becomes a tangible connection to who we are as Christians. As his disciples, we too are called to take up our cross and follow Jesus. The Franciscans, since the time of St. Francis, have been preserving Christianity's holiest shrines, welcoming pilgrims, assisting the poor, and leading parishes and schools. Popes through the centuries have endorsed or promoted the worldwide pontifical Good Friday collection. They understand the connection between the holy places and our Christian identity. Visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in 2009, Pope Benedict XVI said, "This holy place, where God's power was revealed in weakness and human sufferings were transfigured by divine glory, invites us to look once again with the eyes of faith upon the face of the crucified and risen Lord. Contemplating his glorified flesh, completely transfigured by the Spirit, may we come to realize more fully that even now, through baptism, we bear in our bodies the death of Jesus, that the life of Jesus may be manifested in our own mortal flesh." At the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, and at many other shrines throughout the Holy Land and beyond, the Franciscan friars offer presence, care, and service to pilgrims. They walk with them on the way of the cross and help pilgrims to connect their own story to the story of Jesus.
We are in this ancient synagogue, but not from the time of Jesus. Again, about 350 years after Jesus. The synagogue at the time of Jesus was on this site, but it was much smaller, less than the area of the inside there. What I want to share with you here is a sermon that Jesus gave in this very place. It talks about the Eucharist. Jesus promises the Eucharist at this place. He institutes the Eucharist later in Jerusalem, but he promises the Eucharist here. So this shrine is known as the shrine of the promise of the Eucharist. And so I want to share with you the words that Jesus spoke right here that help us to understand the Eucharist and help us to understand why Catholics believe what they believe about the Eucharist. The Gospel starts off by telling us that when they see that Jesus had left the place where he'd fed them, they followed him back here to Capharnaum. And they followed him not because he had the words of eternal life, they followed him because they got free food. Jesus answered, "Your ancestors ate manna bread in the desert, but they died. But now here is bread that truly comes down from heaven. Anyone eating this bread will not die forever. I am bread, living bread, who came down from heaven. Anyone who eats this bread will live and forever." So you can see from this sermon that Jesus spoke in this very place why this shrine is called the Shrine of the Promise of the Eucharist. Jesus here first teaches his disciples about the Eucharist. He does so in very clear and actually in very graphic way. Eat my flesh and drink my blood. It's unequivocal. And this, of course, is the basis of our Catholic belief in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist.
From each experience in the holy places, pilgrims link the gospel stories to their own spiritual journey.
If you come as a pilgrim, if you are moved by faith to make this trip. You will receive something far greater than if you're coming to look at sights. Viewing the sights has no real meaning or depth unless you have faith that comes from within, that can connect with what has happened here long, long ago, to make it real, to make it present in this day, knowing that Christ still lives. It's a marvelous thing. That's why we visit. That's why we have holy places. They're holy because the reality is not yet completely gone.
Well, my favorite moment was when we were at the Holy Sepulchre, and when we touched the tomb of Jesus Christ. I cannot describe in words what I felt, and it's beyond.
When I studied, I went to CCD, and I grew up as a Catholic, but everything was in the Bible, so it was abstract. When you come here, you're actually going to the places and reliving some of the events, and I truly enjoyed being with the people because the people had so much heart, and you see how they feel, and you become more of a religious person and who you want to be than if you had never come.
The best moment for me is actually today at the Sea of Galilee when we were having a boat trip out there on the sea. The gospel that was read to us was actually happening because of the wave and of the sea, and the sky was wonderful.
In the Garden of Gethsemane, we couldn't go into the large chapel. The rock was in the chapel, much larger than I thought. We were able to touch that rock, but not to stay. So we were allowed outside in the garden with stone benches and the stars and the dog barking. I'll never forget the dogs barking and Father reading the gospel of Jesus' suffering and agony in the garden. And I felt my heart literally burst with belief and understanding. Even though we weren't in the chapel, it was better. It was better.
I was standing in the very place where this all happened, his crucifixion. You can read a lot of books and watch movies, but when you're standing right there where it actually happened, it really brings things up close, and emotionally it affected me greatly.
As a child, we learned the stories of the New Testament, but to come here and really experience where the events actually took place is just, I don't know, it's just great. And it's exciting, and it certainly made my faith more vivid and made more of an impression on me.
I'm tremendously grateful to the Franciscans, surprised again a little bit at how much they are present throughout the holy sites. I find every site we visit that has Franciscan presence to be kind of like a little touch of home. To know that they're here is a wonderful thing, but to know that they've safeguarded these presences for the Catholic Church has been I've grown in my appreciation for the order and for what they've done here in the Holy Land.
But the church in the Holy Land is not only a place of pilgrimage, it is a living church, where daily the faithful seek to live their lives and witness to their faith. Their stories give a human face to the church, and enflesh for us the mission of the church throughout the world. Each year at Christmas, the world's attention turns to Bethlehem's Manger Square, where pilgrims gather to celebrate the birth of Christ. In the Church of the Nativity, the grotto marks the place where Jesus was born. The Franciscans assist pilgrims here along with representatives of other major Christian groups. But Bethlehem is also home to an ordinary Catholic parish in an extraordinary setting, where it is literally Christmas all year round.
During Advent, we're prepared for Christmas, but it is totally different here in Bethlehem because continuously we have pilgrims. It's like Christmas every day. You have to talk about Jesus Christ, the baby, you have to talk about the grotto, you have to talk about every single detail about Christmas every day in our life here in Bethlehem. So this is different. I don't think that in any other city of the world there is something like that as we have here in Bethlehem.
This parish fulfills a crucial mission. Serving a Latin, Roman Catholic population, made up primarily of Palestinians, the parish has seen its numbers dwindle as people emigrate to seek a better life, away from the day-to-day stress of living in the occupied territories. But the pastor continues to maintain a vigorous community in the midst of this occupied land.
50 years ago in the Holy Land, we were like 35% as a presence of Christians, but now we're only 1.5%. We have 5,000 people in our parish, and it's the only Latin Catholic parish. So it is very important to have its presence here. Otherwise, the Nativity Church and other churches is going to be like a museum, and we don't want to have that.
In this land, the complex political realities mean that Arab Catholics face daily challenges in living. The Israeli-built security wall restricts their movements. Educational opportunities are limited. The elderly who are without family support need long-term care. The poor need housing. These issues are priorities for the Franciscans and their parishioners. Another focus is on young Arab Catholics.
I don't want to criticize anybody or any political system. I'm talking about the practical issues that we're living. Because of the wall, we have a profound feeling of frustration. Young people feel imprisoned in their own city. So we're trying to help them through trying to get permissions and permits to go out to see Jerusalem, to see Jaffa, to see the sea and all of the other things. And we help them also through psychology and social assistance. If not, they won't be able to live through their difficulties of every day. And we help them also through the school and education. Education is very important because through education, you can give them a brighter future.
It is a sentiment shared among Father's young parishioners.
I don't want to leave Bethlehem. I don't want to leave Palestine. It's my home. I was raised here. Maybe if I go for university or something outside, I will probably come back here because I can't leave Palestine and Bethlehem, where Jesus was born and where I was raised up with my family and all my loved ones.
In this work, the Franciscans depend on the support of generous friends around the world, especially through the annual Good Friday collection.
If you look through the Bible, you can see that even St. Paul asked the other Christians to help Jerusalem and to help the people of the Holy Land. The Good Friday collection is helping Bethlehem in a special way. We depend on that to continue helping poor people. So we're still doing the thing that St. Paul did 2,000 years ago. We spread the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ, and we help the poor of the Holy Land.
In this land, Palestinian Christians live side by side with their Muslim neighbors as well. In the city of Jericho, where Christians are a minority, the Franciscans open the doors of a unique school to all who want to build a future together.
When Franciscans arrived here and began their continuous presence here from the 1925, they were asking themselves how they could be light and salt and how they could serve the people of Jericho. Here in Jericho, for all the Palestinian territories, there is the highest percentage of persons who cannot read and write. They opened the school in 1950 with 100 students. Now we have 460, and we hope with the new structure to welcome 850 students. We are really offering the highest level of education here in Jericho. It is really amazing to see how Terra Santa School prepared the past and present of Jericho. The majority of the responsible people now in all the fields are from our ex-students. The governor, for example, with his children, and also the director of education is from our ex-students. So we have a beautiful influence on the life, economical, but also political and social life here in Jericho. And as we prepared for the past and present, we are continuing also to prepare the future.
Terra Santa School's focus on the individual student is important to the families of Jericho, according to Mr. Farid, a longtime teacher of mathematics.
I have been teaching math about 17 years. Terra Santa is important for the Jericho society because it's the only private school here. Families send their children to our school because they know that there is special treatment for their kids inside this school. We have less numbers of students in the classes. The teachers are treating their kids very well, and there is a system to concentrate on the kids, each kids alone. And the kids are very happy to come here because of the learning, the teaching, and the other activities inside this school.
We have persons from both the religions, Muslims and Christians, and also our professors. We have Muslims and Christians.
We are very happy to have Muslims, Christians in the same school. By the way, I'm a Muslim teacher. I'm not a Christian, and I was a student in this school.
We have religion classes, 4 classes a week, and we are teaching Muslim religion for the Muslims and Christian religion to Christians. It is one of our goals through the school to encourage and teach people to live together. Accepting the different is always a challenge for Muslims, sometimes also for Jews, and sometimes also for Christians. So to teach how to respect the different religion or a way of thinking of another political point of view is always for us a mission. We are not only focusing on the mutual understanding between Muslims and Christians, but also with Jews. We are trying step by step to open the heart of everyone with the knowledge, to begin with the knowledge of the language, the knowledge of the culture, the knowledge of the history, to arrive in the end to a peaceful living together.
The shared educational experience between the two faiths is one which the students both appreciate and build upon.
My name is Boulos Joaquin.
What grade are you in?
I'm in the 9th grade.
The 9th grade, okay. So have you gone to Terra school for all the time in your school?
Yeah.
You are a Christian student here,
yeah.
Yes? Okay. But many of the students here are also Muslims, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it is like going to a school, a Catholic school that has both Christians and Muslims?
It's a very nice thing because when I study with Muslim children, I can know more about Islam. And the conversation between me and the children in the school is very good. Let the people know about our religion and let them tell us about theirs. Because when we know everything about another religion and another enemy and another thing, we can have a good relationship with them and not be like fighters. I have a good education here because all of the people here know that Terra Santa School is the best school in all of Jericho.
The worldwide Good Friday collection, among other means of support, helps Father Ibrahim meet the challenge of operating Terra Sancta School and providing, in the very near future, a brand new expanded facility, fulfilling the dream of the Franciscans and their neighbors in Jericho for more than a half-century.
We can ask only from a student to pay around $350 a year, but it could not cover more than 35 or 30% of the needs. So for us, really, it is a challenge, and we are trying always with many sacrifices to cover the other part, only to procure this highest level of education. We depend on what the pilgrims, benefactors, and persons of goodwill are giving every day for us here in Jericho.
Now, I don't have all the things that I can use to continue my teaching for the children. I need a big space. I need some sources for me, like a projector, like laptops. I think in the new school that we are building, it will be very good for us.
We are expecting now from the new structure to have many places, not only beautiful and large classes, but also laboratories and also classes for computers and also a beautiful library. So for all the people of Jericho, as the governor himself said, and also the director of the education in Jericho, that it was their dream when they were children to have a new structure with all a student could need. So really, we are now seeing the fulfillment with this new building, the fulfillment of the dream of all the people here in Jericho.
I think the people in Jericho are very grateful to people help them, because you know until now we are under occupation, and we hope for a star, a light from the sky, to feel that we are like others. We have our schools, we have our teaching, and we hope we will have freedom. Our weapons now is learning. so as to be a civilized people, to face the world, to have a new generation, love, peace, and continue their life.
St. Francis began his ministry rebuilding churches with the stones of his land. Here in the Holy Land, the Franciscans are using the ancient stones of Jerusalem to build homes for Christians in the Old City.
We are in the Old City, the Christian quarter. We are close to the Holy Sepulchre Church, which is 60 meters from here. We are in very, very old building, more than 800 to 900 years old, as the archaeology told us. See these stones? It's very old stones, Byzantine time. We keep the antique stones, the old stones, which is more than 800 to 900 years. It was covered by plaster, paint. Now we are cleaning the stones, that when you come to the house, you see how old this house is. As you see, it's not a small house, around 100 meters square. And we are doing the work for a lot of reasons. First of all, the family which they are going to live here, father, mother, and 4 kids, they used to be living with rain from the ceiling, drainage problems, sewage problems. You know, when you have problems all the time, water leakage, electrical problems, the smell, this make disease for the families. So to solve all this situation, we have to renovate all the house, to give the possibility for the father and mother and the kids to live in good situation. You can go more inside. So this is also one small room for the kids, for the boys. We solve all the problems of the leakage. We did all the electrical work. New plaster, new paint, new tiles. It's not easy work, what we have done. This is to give the ability for the people to love and to never think to leave Jerusalem, to keep the Christianity living in the Old City, the Christian quarter, the land of Jesus. We give the antique and the old and the historic of the Old City for the Christian people who's living here, to feel Jesus when he were here.
It was my dream to live in the Old City since I was born in the Old City, but we didn't have a house here. They offered me this house. I have 5 kids. We're a family of 7 people, and we were very happy to have this house. It was impossible for me actually to afford to have a house. I used to pay $750 house rental for 13 years. Imagine I paid more than $120,000 for the past 13 years when I got married in 1998. And it's only after 8 or 9 months of having this house, they decided to renovate the house. So they took me out of the house in 2 months, and to be honest with you, I was afraid at the beginning that I will be out of my house for more than 2 months. But I can say proudly that they have very professional people, especially the engineers and the workers. They did it in 2 months, and that was something that I couldn't imagine. And you can see it's a masterpiece, the original Jerusalem stone. That is really very nice and very beautiful. Honestly, I say that by this work, by these projects, they are sustaining Christians in the Holy Land. That's the main point. We need to have our Christian community stay and not emigrate. You know, we're facing a mass immigration of Christians, and the only, I can say I'm proud of this, the only church that is sustaining Christians in the Holy Land is the Catholic Church. They recently added 62 to 72 housing units in Mount of Olives, and here we're around 30 families that were added to the Old City of Jerusalem. Without the Franciscans and the Catholic Church and the custody of the Holy Land offering me this house, I couldn't come back to the Old City and live here and enjoy the privilege of being close to the main churches of Jerusalem, which is something very good for a religious family of 7 people to be very close to schools, churches, and the center of life of Jerusalem.
The special mission to be present and to care for and serve this living church in the Holy Land is one which the Holy Father has recommended to the whole world. This Good Friday, join your fellow parishioners as you pray the liturgy of this holy day. As you walk in solidarity with your brothers and sisters around the world, with pilgrims to the holy places, and with the Church which lives at the roots of our faith, the Franciscans invite you to join them in the work of presence, of caring, of serving. By giving to the Pontifical Good Friday collection, you will be helping our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land. Thanks for your generosity.